Good evening, everyone. Marhaba, welcome. And we all are here once again for your UAE PMI UAE chapter webinar series. I would like to invite all of the people who are been working with us in joining these webinars throughout every month almost. And I would like to put a kind of great thanks to start with. I think we really are grateful for you people who are joining us all the time, making your time much more valuable to give us in form of your particular area of work. Now, I think more importantly, we have been doing this webinar series every month, 2 times minimum, somewhere there. And I would like to continue to give this particular value from the chapter perspective to all our dear members and the prospective members as well. So I will give it some more time for the new people to come in. Again, good evening, good afternoon. From where you're joining, we would like to hear from you in the chat, which time zone, if in that particular case, which industry you belong to. And if you would like to share that, what is your expectation from today's topic? And of course, today's topic is something which is not we have covered in the past recent webinars somewhere around, is talking about connecting capital and the art of value of building your network. So that's the topic today. That's the area of expertise. We are going to listen from our expert speaker today. We have Karen Holliday joining all of us as a guest speaker today, and our more important, the subject matter expert on this particular topic from Ohio to USA. And of course, we are seeing that there are 280 somewhere registrations were done. Now we are welcoming each one of you for thanking for joining us. And I'm seeing the people joining from Oman this time. Okay, so good people, good to see that people are coming from different part of the countries, not only UAE. Thank you so much for joining us and keeping this particular chapter activity as much as engaging with your chats and your engagement. My name is Anshul Chaube, and I'm the part of PMI UAE chapter event team and your host and moderator tonight for this particular exciting topic, connecting capital. So I think with this, I think there is definitely an agenda tonight with all of us. We have been doing this webinar as a part of agenda, and then we are going to introduce you to the chapter, more importantly, because this chapter is really unique in itself. We have been nominated as one of the chapter in the top 5 there recently. And apparently in the EMEA region, we are in the top 5, have been in the top 5 side of things. This kind of accreditation and reputation which we carry in our chapter is a kind of speak for itself. And we are here to make, again, adding the value for all of us. So with that in mind, I would like to introduce you to the chapter. If the people who are being new to the chapter, I would like to give this certain introduction so that you can understand that what we are, why we are doing what we are doing, and then how you can really approach all of us. And then we will jump into the topic with Dr. Karen. And of course, I have to introduce our speaker, which I will do. Let me introduce the chapter first, and let me go to the speaker after that. So we are at 7:33, 3 minutes. I think we started now. I'm sharing my screen quickly to introduce you to the chapter here. So the chapter is, of course, is the part of Project Management Institute. Of course, if somebody is not aware, it's been founded by the group of project managers in 1969. And since there, we have been working tirelessly as a part of different chapters for this particular affiliated organization. After 50 years, this is one of the largest professional association in the world, which gives its a kind of accreditation in the field of project management. We do a lot of sponsored and published research, thought leadership, and knowledge content sharing, and also issue the kind of research and papers in the form of community engagement. UAE chapter is one of the old and reputed chapter in this region, and we have the vision of empowering and influence individuals with the innovative project economy principles to turn ideas into the realities. To go with the mission statement, to disrupt and craft value-driven opportunities to our chapter members and partners to become really agile, innovative, productive in the platform for the growth of project economy. With that mission statement, here is our chapter team, apparently, which is, of course, 100% run by all the volunteers. 4,000 plus active members. We have already surpassed that. That's a feat in itself. We are ranked in the top 5 chapter, as I spoke before. Focus has been on the industry trends and then also serving the community of these project managers, program leaders to become certified, and also not only to get certified, to apply that knowledge into their working. Using the power skills as well, which one of the power skills today's topic is going to address. And we all dependent on the people like you who have been working behind the scenes or as a part of members to join our chapter activities to make it much more interactive and invigorating. Chapter board is led by Mr. Adil Sultan as a president and the rest of the board of directors helping him out in the different part of the functions to run it apparently in the right way. Some benefits which are associated with the chapter itself goes in the form of networking, knowledge sharing, career growth, and events. So this webinar which we are doing it is definitely falling under the event section of the diversified webinars. Chapters has also got some interesting aspects to really bring the accreditation to the members as a part of spotlight introduction and the corner introduction so that you can have an opportunity to really showcase your ideas, your achievements, your thoughts, your learnings, the rest of the community as well. You can approach to the newsletters at pmiua.org, and then they will be definitely coming back to you in the form of your writing to get published into the newsletter of the chapter as well. There's a lot of things goes behind it, but I think you are welcome to join the chapter and follow us in the different social media channel. All these webinars we keep on doing and getting recorded in the YouTube channel of the chapter, which would definitely go in back and then revisit them on your own time if you need. Of course, there's a different email addresses, membership, you all entering, and info for the separate areas of the function. And then, of course, the website, which definitely gives you a good amount of information to load you from the perspective of what's going around. That's about the chapter. Now, let me introduce our speaker today. And it's my honor to speak about Karen. So the Karen Holliday is the president of NYK Consulting with over 30 years of experience in operations. So she's going to help us in understanding a very important concept today, which she has been really leading as a senior roles in the major firms, including Pfizer, Discover Card, SourceLink. Formerly, she has worked as a COO at Innovare Communication. She was named as top 100 icon by Oncon in both 2023 and 2024. Karen is certified in health and life coach, bringing the holistic approach to the leadership, performance, and personal development. In addition to her executive experience, she is public speaker, a broadcast guest, sharing her insights on leadership, resilience, and of course, transformations. To add on to the feather of the cap, she has really delivered an exciting speech at the TEDx talk in Dubai, and she continues to speak at events throughout the region and internationally. She is serving as a program advisor for women in leadership in Valparaiso University and is also an active mentor, committing to empowering the next generation of leaders. So before we really take a deeper dive into the topic of our esteemed speaker, I would like to explain some housekeeping notes. This webinar will last somewhere around an hour and 15 minutes. And of course, I'm going to address the questions if you can put them out in the Q&A section so that I and Karen will try to address them in the logical fashion and connecting it and making it much more useful for all of us to really learn together. So with that, without any further ado, I think Karen, welcome on board. And we are really excited to understand that actually we have been earning a lot of capital in the form of money, in the form of social networks, in the form of personal networks also, but really connecting the capital together with all these networks together, how it's really going to value our personal and professional life. Excited to hear from you. Over to you, Karen.
Great. I'm happy to be here. So
Likewise.
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk about connection capital, as you said, the art and value of building your network. And what is that? What is the value of connection capital? That's what we're going to talk about. So you already gave me an amazing introduction. Thank you for that. So I'll skip over that part. One of the things that we want to talk about, or what we're going to start talking about, is what is connection capital? So to really start with what is connection capital, to go to what it is today, really, you have to kind of go back to what it was for me. And I'll digress and tell you that story in a minute. But how I view connection capital is connecting two or more people to explore a shared purpose. So for example, if you and I are talking, if we meet each other, for example, we might meet each other at a random coffee shop. Say you were standing in line at a coffee shop and we exchange hellos. And we decide to sit down and have coffee together. We are exchanging um, anything. We might be exchanging a conversation about our children or exchanging conversations about a work situation. We are exchanging a conversation that might turn into a value. So I learned something about you, you learned something about me. That turns into knowledge, and that knowledge turns into value. So that value becomes the capital. And that connection becomes something that we've learned from each other. So setting aside everything external about us, the connection and the value becomes the connection capital. So we are respecting and embracing the differences, and we're exploring how those values can benefit the greater good. And so we're utilizing similarities and differences to work together to build something. So that is connection capital. I was inspired by, and I would say this is where I take you back to my original, I would say, inspiration for Connection Capital. This is long before I ever knew networking was a thing. I started my career in the military, and I was a truck mechanic. And in the military, I was a runner also, and I happened to get injured in a run. I broke my leg, and I couldn't work in the truck pool, so I couldn't work in the motor pool. So they put me in the mailroom. Now, long ago, and I'm dating myself, but long ago, they had they didn't have email, and they didn't have cell phones. And so we had to actually write letters and put stamps on them and send them off. And so we didn't get communication by any means other than a written letter. And so I sat with a cast on my leg, I sat in a little tiny mailroom, and it had a door with an open box. And so soldiers would come up and they would say, Karen, did I receive any mail today? So I would go look in their box, and if they got a letter, sometimes they would share it with me. And if that letter was good news, they would share their happiness with me. If that letter was bad news or, sad news, they would share that with me sometimes as well. And sometimes I got to share cookies with them also. And so that was good too. But the moral of that story really is the basis of the human connection that I found. And by that, I mean, there was a tangible piece of paper that was connected to their heart. And that created a human connection that was really important to me. I recognized that somehow I wrote my heart on this letter and I sent it to you, and you got emotional value from that. And so that created a connection for me that started my want for my career. So when I got out of the military, I got my first job in a mailroom, and that gave me my want for my career. So I've been in the mailing industry for over 35 years, and that's what I intended to do. So I got my love for the human connection through that one interaction, and that was really the basis for really everything I do related to connection today. So that was just a little background about me. All right, understanding the importance of empathy and curiosity in connection. And we're going to talk a lot about today about understanding that value of the capital in the connection, but also understanding the human factor in it and why it's so important. So I want you to think about this. Have you or someone you know experienced being labeled? And if so, how did that make you feel? So for me, from my perspective, I have certainly been labeled. As from a female in leadership, I've been labeled. I've also had friends that have been labeled. What are some of the barriers that you can think of that are created by being labeled? So let me give you a few examples. Being labeled restricts identity. Labels can confine people when they are more than just what you see on the surface. You can miss the richness of their experiences and their capabilities. It creates division. There's an us versus them mentality. We often place people in opposing groups, which leads to misunderstanding, prejudice, and conflict. This can hinder genuine connection and understanding between individuals and groups. Social barriers, race, disability, gender, or religious preferences. All of these can lead to discrimination in housing, employment, or even social decisions. Psychological barriers. Sometimes we forget about these. People who are repeatedly labeled with negative terms may internalize these stigmas, leading them to self-blame, lowered expectation, and emotional distress. These hinder personal growth, essentially making people feel like they're limited by their own labels. For me, I know that I've experienced labels. We tend to label people every day. I mean, if you think about it, every time you fill out an application, they're asking you to be labeled, right? So what group are you from? What salary do you make? We are constantly labeled, so we are predisposed to labeling. So it makes sense that we label. How do we get beyond the labels? How we can adopt a group label. For me, I like to say that people are humans. So it's a fact that we are all humans. So I just say, I love humans. And that way it makes me feel like we're all a community. And I don't have to label people. I don't like labels. So I like to just say, I love humans, and I love animals, and I love nature. And so that's how that's how I deal with it. But you can create your own label, but it's just a way to adopt a different way of saying things. Um,
Karen, before you
yes,
enter, are you sharing your screen by any chance?
are you not seeing my screen?
No, not yet. Can you just
I
please
am
try it?
so sorry. Am I just talking and you guys are not seeing it? I thought I had already shared it.
I can see it,
You can
Anshul.
see? You can
Yeah.
see it? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So then issue is at my side. Go ahead. Sorry to disturb you.
I'm so sorry. Thank you. The other thing that we can do, other than adopting a group label, which makes for better community, is getting curious. Getting beyond labels is sometimes difficult because, like I said, everybody is doing it, is getting curious. By that, I mean asking a lot of questions. So for example, if someone, because we all have differences, we all are raised differently, we all have family traditions, we all have different beliefs, we all have different ways of doing things. So I like to be curious. So I ask a lot of questions. When I'm around people, I love people, by the way. It's like one of my favorite things to do is just be around people that are different than me. And so I will ask a lot of questions like, why are we doing this? And, but in a very respectful manner. For example, when I was in Salt Lake City, they had very different beliefs. And so their customs were, Monday night was reserved for family time. They didn't do anything on Monday night, but family time. You could go anywhere in Salt Lake City on Monday night and everything was open and everyone was home. And so why do we do that? Well, because it's our belief. And in another place I was at, they did something different. And so why do you do that? I only go to church on Saturdays. So why do you do that? So it's very, very good to ask questions and to respect values. Your values are your own. They make you who you are. And so when you ask someone about their values and you respect that, it shows a lot. Empathy practicing empathy is important in every conversation when you're asking these questions. And I want to make sure that we understand the difference between empathy and sympathy, because there's a difference. And I think sometimes people don't understand that, but empathy is actively sharing in another person's emotional experience, which allows you to have a deeper connection. Sympathy is feelings of pity or sorrow for a situation. And there are times for both. But when you are sharing in an experience, you want to have empathy, not pity. It makes people feel different. So empathy and curiosity do build stronger teams. And when you're sharing in a team environment, you want to share empathy. Okay. Understanding division and diversity. When has diversity helped or hurt team success? Again, I ask you to think about a time of when diversity or lack of it may have helped or hurt your teams. So there's many examples, and you can look them up, of teams that are diverse that have had massive success because they have become great diverse teams. For example, GoDaddy had an example of by partnering with institutions like Stanford University's VMware Women's Leadership Innovation Lab, they implemented initiatives to address unconscious bias in processes like promotions, which resulted in more inclusive environments and recognition as a top workplace for women in technology. So that's an example, just one example of a successful, diverse team. And if you look it up, you'll find hundreds of very exact same things. But I think there are other diverse examples that you could probably find in your own workplaces where diversity can be defined by teams that are brought together by skill sets. Similar to what we talked about in earlier slides, where you are bringing skills together that are different, different people, not necessarily different people, but how do I say this? Where you and I are different, we have different skill sets, and we are complementing the team. And so, for example, I worked for 2 companies where we had 5 or 10 people that were working together on a project, and that team just worked. So if you think about a team, and I always ask people this, have you ever worked with a team that you absolutely loved? And if you did, then you know what I'm talking about. And in retrospect, have you ever worked with a team that you knew just didn't work? And why was that? Is it because of one person? Is it because the team couldn't collaborate? Is it because the team just couldn't make it work? And what was the reason? Because if you don't have a team that shares that core value of making sure that they all work together for that one common goal of success, do you have enough differences on your team? Are you sharing your skill sets? Are you recognizing the value that the team brings together? Because when you have a really good team, and I've been in my whole career, I think I can count 3 really good teams that I had the honor of being on. They're not easy to find, but man, when they work, right? So this is good. So I think finding the right team is an art. So we discussed barriers and the barriers that are created by labels. And how do we turn diversity into strength with empathy and curiosity and seeing beyond those labels? We have to find the value, right? So understanding curiosity, or understanding the common I'm sorry, I lost my place. Please bear with me. Understanding the common divisions. Regardless of the division, religion, ethnicity, gender, or even your role at work, practicing empathy, kindness, and curiosity will help you overcome these divisions. So, in short, diversity is a strength and an opportunity, not a difference. So we must look at our differences as strengths and opportunities. So this one is probably my favorite. Personal storytelling and the hard work. It's the best part. So we're all made up of our own journey, and we get to write the book and share the pages that we want. Some people share the whole book right away. And I think we've met those people. And some people some people decide to only share one page at a time. And I have to admit, I'm probably one of those people. Either way, embrace it, be ethical, and share the experiences as you see fit. Reflect upon a mentor in your life. Did you have, are you thinking about your first mentor? Are you thinking about your favorite mentor? I know for me, I've been so blessed with several mentors in my life. Whenever someone asks me about a mentor, like I just asked you, I reflect on my favorite, and he was my first. And he taught me the very basics of leadership, but he also taught me the basics of living, because at the time that I met him, I didn't know how to do my finances. I didn't know how to be a leader. I didn't know how to walk the talk. And he taught me how to do all those things. But he also got out his checkbook every once in a while, and he helped me. And he was a good human. And that was really important to me. And he was really the basis for my inspiration of who I am as a leader today. And he made me realize what it means when someone believes in you. And he believed in me before I believed in myself. And so he was the person that at the very beginning was the person that made me who I am today. So mentors are important. So always reflect on that. What inspired you then? Write that down. I mean, what was your inspiration when you started? If that is, what your inspiration is right now, that's fine too. But what inspires you now? What inspired you then versus what inspires you now? Is there any difference? If so, what is the difference? Ponder this. Do you think in the future that you will be inspired by other factors? Will you have another mentor? Perhaps. Probably. And most importantly, will you be a mentor to others? What is the role of a mentor? The guidance and advice, support, encouragement, share knowledge, feedback, networking, skills development, goal setting, encourage growth, and to be an advocate. Being an advocate is so important as a role of a mentor. And if you've ever had one, you'll understand this. All of those things are important, but if you are an advocate as a mentor, then you are the voice for that person, and you can speak for them when they can't. And so by that I mean, I'm a huge fan of someone who is cheering for someone in rooms that they're not in. And so you're advocating for them before they're advocating for themselves. And I think that's really helpful. Trust, giving, and the hard work. So the journey is up to you, and you need to learn to trust by having open conversations. And open conversations take you having the ability to open up yourself to the hard work, right? That's hard work and hard work. So conflict resolution, being able to trust yourself and trust the people in the room enough to have open dialogue. And we're going to talk a little bit about this later in our conversation. But when you are building a team of trust, you have to be able to be vulnerable, and you have to allow yourself the ability to open the door for others to be vulnerable. And those are very difficult conversations. They require deep trust. And sometimes that's not easy. That's why I said teams that work really, really well have all of these skill sets. And also networking and having good connections require these skill sets. So relationships are important. And I would say by giving, and we're going to talk a little bit about giving, by giving, you receive tenfold. And I'm going to give you one little story about giving. When I was early in my career, my background didn't really afford, I would say, at least I didn't think it did, afford for me to be a giving person. And that's a terrible thing to say because it's absolutely not true. I grew up in a very poor household with no parents. My father died very young, and my mom, she had to move away. And now that as an adult, I understand all the things that she did and why she did it. And I absolutely respect her decision to do what she did. They're both gone now, obviously, but I grew up very poor. And so I thought at the time I didn't have anything to give as I was struggling with my own personal struggles raising a family. But I met someone along the way who gave me some really good advice. And he said, Karen, if you give, you'll get back what you give tenfold. And I said, okay. I said, I don't have anything to give. And he said, yes, you do. You'll find it. When you find it and you give it, you'll get it back. So one day I made a decision that I was going to take his advice, and I tell you what I got back. I got back blessings, and I believe that I believe this wholeheartedly, and I share it often, that those blessings don't come back to you in the form that maybe you think they do always, but they come back in what I call heart work. And that's why I talk about it often in almost all of my commentary. It's called the heart work. And when you do the hard work and you do the heart work, what you get back is a network of blessings. And the blessings come in the form of relationships, and they come back in the form of business, and they come back in the form of just opportunities. And so people are, when you give, they do come back. So my recommendation is to do the hard work and the heart work, because you do get blessings. So and create your own story. Your own story is your journey, and I certainly love mine. So the good and the bad, I love it. Okay, building your network. Common challenges of building your network. Time constraints. We all have time constraints. There's a fear of rejection, I think. Besides that we don't have time, I think when we reach out to people, sometimes like I talked about in a coffee shop, or maybe you're online, sometimes I reach out to people when someone, ways that I build my network is if I'm in a grocery store and someone behind me has one item and I have a lot, I let them ahead of me and then I just start a conversation. If I'm in a coffee shop and I'm standing next to someone waiting, I'll start up a conversation. If I'm if I'm around people, I just start up a conversation. I think there's a fear of rejection or this is one of the things that is a common challenge. A lack of clear goals. I know that I want to build my network. I don't deliberately necessarily go out and say I'm going to talk to 5 people today, but if you need to do that, to say I want to network with 10 people this month, make that a goal. Difficulty finding value or struggling with maintaining relationships. This might be a common challenge for you. Or following up because we get too busy. Following up on initial contacts might be a challenge for you also. Personal resilience. Key factors. Managing emotions, adapting well. These are things that you might be really good at. You might be optimistic. I'm optimistic all the time. So confident, strong social skills. You have good problem solving skills. These are things that are good personal resilience. And if you have those, you're probably really good at the power of connection. Strategies to boost your resilience might be setting realistic goals, as we just talked about, or building social connections. Try to get online and build social connections, or go out like I had suggested in just one-on-one connections. Embrace failure. This is tough for a lot of people, embracing failure, but if it wasn't for failure, I can tell you from my personal experience, I have failed many, many more times than I have not. And every single time I fail, I learn. And learning to me is winning. So if I don't fail, that means I haven't tried. And every time I try, I win. Every time I fail, I learn. And that is winning to me. So just remember that failure equals an opportunity to try again. So embrace that. Learn from your experiences. Identify and challenge your negative thinking. Negative thinking doesn't do anything for anyone. So that also is a life lesson for me. A long time ago, I had to learn that negative thinking just wasn't doing any good for me. So I read something one day that said happiness was a choice. And I said, you know what? It is. And sometimes you have to make that choice several times a day. You have to get up and say, count your blessings. It's not that bad. You got a lot to be happy for. So develop some coping mechanisms. What do you do when you're stressed or not happy? Do you work out? Do you read a book? Do you call a friend? What do you do? And develop that coping mechanism. It's good. And some strategies to build your network and value is attend industry events. I can tell you that I built almost my entire professional network on industry events. I've been attending industry events for over 30 years. And it's like a family reunion every time I go to one, and I love it. And every time I work with a company now, consulting, and they tell me they don't have the money to invest, or that these industry events are not worth it because they don't gain any value, I tell them that they need to send their people, because it's not only professionally valuable, but it is personally valuable for their people to grow themselves. And it's important for that growth and culture. It's important for you as well to go. Build your rapport there. Join professional organizations, cultivate relationships, leverage social media. If you like social media, leverage social media. Reach out and follow up. Follow up, because a lot of people don't do that too. You get a lot of business cards and then you never call them back. They just sit in your drawer. And identify your goals, right? Goals, goals, goals. Building teams. Understanding your company values. So if you are building a team inside your organization, specifically, understanding your company values is imperative. Because you want to build a team that starts with value. And that is the base of what you're building off of, because you want your team to share those values. That's where you start. Secondarily, define upfront what skills might be required for that project or that team, and then start talking about your people. Don't grab a bunch of people and then decide what your values are, because it's not going to work. So talk about your values, talk about your goals, talk about your skills, and then say, okay, now let's talk about the people. And then make sure that you choose, like I've talked about, the diverse group that you need. You know, this guy has this skill set, and this lady has this skill set, and you know, that person has this skill set, and so on and so forth. And then bring them together, but make sure they share that purpose and those values so that you can get the best team moving forward, so that you have that shared common purpose of success. And that's going to be the best way to build your team. But people on teams must have the diverse skills, but have that common goal. Connection-driven culture equals collaboration power. So strategies for building connection capital. Embrace cultural respect. So I learned very quickly, that understanding local customs isn't just a polite gesture. It's a sign of respect. So again, I ask questions, a lot of them. If you're unsure of a tradition, you say, hey, I'd love to learn more, right? Sometimes it's just greeting someone in their language or acknowledging their special celebration. These moments show people that they're seen and valued, and it creates a ripple effect of goodwill. Practicing structured curiosity. I've found that setting up listening sessions, either with an individual or groups, small group meetings where people share their life stories, can completely transform an entire team dynamic. Once someone sets up or opens up about their upbringing or cultural background, the stereotypes we've clung to tend to dissolve. And suddenly we see each other as layered, complex individuals. And in my teams, when people heard firsthand someone's childhood from a vastly different part of the world, we didn't just gain new facts, we gained empathy and understanding. And mentorship and enthusiasm, which again is one of my favorites. Don't wait for the perfect match. Look for mentors and mentees from different industries, cultures, or faiths. It's a two-way street. You offer your expertise, they offer theirs. And this, I learn from you, you learn from me approach, fast tracks growth on both sides. In my life, mentors from cultures that I'd never encountered opened doors that I never knew existed. And then sustaining the momentum, which is kind of what we've talked about with follow-up. remember that one positive encounter can evolve into a lifelong bridge if you consciously nurture it. So scheduling follow-ups, whether it's a monthly coffee break or a group check-in, don't let those new connections fade once the initial excitement wears off. Some of the strongest bonds form long after those initial meetings wear off. And then your personal action plan. So you start with one person, right? Today, you have one wall or one barrier to overcome. Just start with one person. If this is you, if you are struggling creating your network, or if you have a vast network, start with a person that you wouldn't normally talk to and reach out. Maybe it's a person that you've previously misunderstood, and just reach out. Hey, we haven't talked in a while. Make a list of people inside and outside your industry or your network and reach out. Like a cold call list, but for networking. Attend events, webinars, trade shows, training, network, network, network. I can't tell you enough. Network, network, network. If you talk to 100 people and you get 5 people that you love out of that group, you have gained 5 new friends. And that will be important, right? Partner up and share plans for accountability. Find someone that you say, hey, listen, I'd love to do this with you. Why don't we go to a session together? Let's meet 10 new people together. I've done that too. I have a group of people that I partner with, and we have accountabilities together. We go to industry trade shows together. We partner, we get business together. We make friends together. And do the heart work and the hard work. Because I cannot tell you enough, like I said, the blessings are abundant. When I decided to leave the corporate world of being a COO and start my own business, if it wasn't for my network, I wouldn't have what I have today, because I just made a call to a few people and told them I decided I was going to go out on my own. I had made a decision, and it was a lifelong dream of mine to have my own business and to inspire and share my story with others. And it was an overflowing of people wanting to help me with my business. And so it was amazing. But if it was not for my network of support and people and love, I wouldn't be where I am today. So do the hard work and the hard work. Oh, sorry. And last, as a reminder, connecting 2 or more people to explore a shared purpose. Respecting and embracing differences to explore how those values can benefit the greater good. Utilizing your similarities and differences to work together to build something. Hard work plus hard work equals connection capital. But thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here today with me and learning a little bit about me and connection capital.
Thank you.
And
Great, Karen. I think hard work and hard work. I think that catches the whole attention. To summarize, I think the overall, you have been speaking past 45 minutes, and we can see it was inspiring. It was incredible. It is stirring. Okay, it was emotional to that point. But ultimately, what the message comes out is really great, that people really to understand the value of connection, and then to make this value, where you need to start from, why you are making this connection from, labeling, and understanding the perspective and differences. I think you captured beautifully a couple of different dimensions of connecting. And connecting is just not the dots, but also the human minds. And human minds are driven by a lot of things, just not the rationales behind why we are talking to each other, but more than that, right? So we see that there's a couple of questions audience is enticing about some particular areas of the questions to start with. Let's try to answer them and to prevent their quenches. Diversity, you spoke about diversity. So the question from Asif is that the value of the diversity and the perspective of diversity when you was talking to, is it based on only demographies of the people, or is it can be done only based on personalities also? Communication style also can be a diversity area of categorization.
I think the world is changing. Their line of sight on diversity. To me, diversity means everything. It's our differences as a whole. The reason I go from labeling to diversity, DEI, cultures, everything, and I can do a whole broad scope of how we all look at diversity. I look at it as, because I don't like to look at it, I look at it I don't look at it like the world looks at it. I like to look at it like everything that we are individually is diverse. So none of us are the same. Our individual fingerprint makes us different. And so the value of Connection Capital is that you are different than me in all aspects. And so whatever you bring to the table is going to be valuable to me because we are different. And
Different.
no matter what job you have, no matter what your background is, you have a value to me because you are different. And I want to know what that is. So I want to sit down and have a conversation with you and see how we can benefit each other in that conversation and that diversity. And so whenever you say diversity to people, they instantly go somewhere. They either go, it's a demographic, they go, it's a religion, it's usually formatted based on how they're raised or what their current environment is. For me, it is really more of a footprint of, how are you different than me and how can I gain value from your knowledge and your background and who you are as a person. I want to know your your background. I want to know who you are. I don't care about the rest of it. I just want to know you. And I want to know how we can become friends and how we can benefit, because then I can help you, by sharing your knowledge and you can help me maybe. And then together we can help the greater good.
Okay, so it's a wider dimension aspect about, as you said, two individuals are not always the same. So as far as they are not same, there is the value. I think
Yes.
that's the message, right? So
Yes.
thank you. That's a great answer to that. Coming to the networking, okay, connections. If somebody's asking that if they are not naturally good at networking organically, how they can become a better people person from the perspective of again creating that capital for the connection perspective.
I think that's something that you really have to start by practicing connecting. So if you're not a people person, you really have to, and it's really hard in today's world, especially if you are hooked on, and I say this with all the love in my heart, if you are hooked on technology, if you are constantly a person that communicates through phone or email, text messages, things like that. You kind of have to get out and actually physically talk to people. And once you do that, you will get used to it. So a way to be a people person is to really just kind of engage in conversations as I suggested. And it's simple. It's as simple as, and I know it sounds simple. I wasn't always a people person. So I think it really starts with just, those one-on-one conversations. So, and force yourself to be in a conversation. Like sometimes it might cause you to sweat a little bit. It might cause you to, get out of your comfort zone a minute, but set a
Yeah.
goal. And your goal might be one person. This month, I'm going to speak to one person that's out of my comfort zone. And that's kind of how I did it. I remember, and this is it kind of out of context, but I was never a speaker in public. And I was in my 20s and I would volunteer for everything because I was like, if I don't force myself to do this, I'm never going to do it. And so the first engagement I had was one of the first jobs I had. They needed a speaker to speak in front of the whole company. We had 300 people at the time. And so I rose my hand and she said, well, I need somebody who's done this before. And I said, oh, I've done it. And I'd never done it before. And so, she said, well, are you versed? Can you do this? I said, absolutely. I've done this. I know how to do it. And then I went home and I think I almost passed out because I was like, how am I going to do this? And so, but because I convinced her and everybody else that I'd done it before, I knew I had to do it. So that's how I got my first speaking engagement. And so it's kind of like that. It's like you have to tell yourself, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do one person. And then once I get over that hump, I can do the next person, the next person. So, just kind of, force yourself out of your comfort zone. That's my advice.
No, I think very valid advice, and I think that goes resonates with a lot of people, and especially the Gen Zs now. Since you
Yes.
touched the technologies piece, interesting research has come out recently. I was reading about, and the Gen Zs, who people who've been born after 1997, this generation has a peculiar inherent DNA, I would say, distortion in them. They are not as good as the previous generation in these connections. They are very
Yes.
well versed in making connections through technologies, by inspiring others, by giving the pep talks, flashing
Yes.
things out. But when they are being put into the group, uh, as especially the face-to-face groups, and especially not one-to-one, more than one-to-one face-to-face groups, Gen Zs have been struggling as compared to the previous generations. And this research was published recently, and it came to me as a kind of shock, actually, because I was under impression that today's Gen Zs are far more vocal, far more outspoken, far more adjustable to previous generations. But there's another side of the thing, because technology is so easy for them at the fingertips that the human connection things is not coming naturally now, and that is making them uncomfortable to a point. To the majorities, I'm not saying everybody, but the majorities of the Gen Zs are struggling with it. So I think that's something that a challenge we as previous generation of millennials might need to help out to the Gen Zs now, that actually, why it is going to not work in the future, because this is one of the very important treasure as a human connection we need to build out there. Great answers. I think the another one is we have is that connecting to digital, since we're discussing that, what are the good techniques to build the networking in the digital era, by Mohammad Munaf.
Yeah, I think that's a very similar. That's actually very good. I mean, we just connected in the digital area, so everybody that's on, everybody that joined today, we just connected, right? So I think this is also good. So I do a lot of connecting via digital. So networking via digital is great as well. So there's a lot of really good resources out there to do this. You can connect with Zoom calls. You can have your own oh my gosh, there's so many social avenues to connect, as long as you're doing it in a good, healthy way, right? So there's ways to do meetings, there's ways to do connections, there's ways to do networking. You can attend trainings, you can attend virtual sessions, you can attend, like I do this all the time. And so I'm always connecting, and make sure when you're connecting that you're asking questions, that you're engaging, that you're following up, that because every time I do, I find a new person through those connections, and you're writing down notes of the people that you're connecting with, and then you follow up with those people, and that's how you make the connection. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll say, hey, do you mind connecting me with that person who asked that question, so that I can get connected? And then I make a next connection, right? And so now I'm connected with that person, and I know now we're connected, and I can have a different conversation. So I do that a lot as well.
Nice. Yeah, so I think the avenues are endless now, especially the boundaries are not the problems anymore. But yeah, I think importantly, what we need to also look at the fact that, as we say, that you can multiply your connections, but actually the value of the connection, if you say value capital of your connections, that is where you need to be very much focused on, not on the numbers, but on the value
Yes,
what you have developed,
yes.
right? So I think that is where the we also need to be very much focused around. I think the one which we have is, and he's asking any specific tools. So I think any specific tools you just mentioned, Zoom, and there's a Discord. There are so many tools now available, and there's no end now. But anything which you use, you like to use, with from your recommendation, anything, Karen?
Yeah, I will tell you, I mean, I don't know that there's any tool I don't use. I can tell you, I mean, my kids are all in their 30s, so they use Discord. I don't use Discord, but because I heard you mention Discord, but I do use Zoom, I use Google Meets, I'm on all the social media platforms. So I'm using any tool possible through technology to reach out to people and have them reach out to me. I also, again, with my mentoring, I mentor small businesses. So I meet a lot of people through small businesses. I have a lot of partners, so I'm doing that as well. So I would say I'm probably spending, a lot of time doing digital connections as much as I am doing physical connections. So those tools are all good. I would utilize any one of those. It does make for a technology nightmare when you're trying to connect to meetings, but it is a really good, they are really good, like when you're using chats and you're using, ways to get in and speak to people. But like I said, I mean, any tool that you use is going to work, as like you said. The value of those connections are really what you're after. I find LinkedIn to be a very valuable tool to just connect people. Um, um, but whatever tool that you want to use is going to work as long as it works for you. That's my recommendation. Whatever you prefer is going to work for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's really great response from you, Karen. I think the last one, which I'm seeing in the Q&As, is of course is a bit on the side topic. Uh, but yeah, the penultimate, he's telling that he's a university student, is by Jayesh, and he's still trying to grasp AI tool, to use them and to understand, to get them literate about AI tools and on how exactly the AI is changing the project management landscape is the one of the area he's intrigued about. And other than automation of the repetitive task, anything else AI is going to enhance or degrade decision making, especially for the project manager, or the likes about it. Now, of course, this is not immediately the topic which we have just touched about.
Mhm.
Any thoughts, but by any chance you want to comment on it, since it's being asked in the chat, by any chance,
So,
Karen, what's your thoughts?
interestingly enough, I do speak on this just a little bit, but mostly how it integrates with humans. So
Yeah,
I will speak on that. As
absolutely.
so my take on AI in general just is a lot. It's more related to technology and there's a lot of commentary about AI and its value of how all of the things that it's going to do related to replacement of humans. It's an amazing tool, and it's still in development phases, and it is doing a lot of really, really good things. Uh, and do I use it? I use it for some things, right? So I have I'm certainly not a technology major. I utilize it in various forms to help me write certain things or to maybe help me edit. But I don't utilize it 100%. Like I like my stuff to be original. However, when I consult with companies, my
Mhm.
advice is to look to AI to enhance people, to enhance humans, to enhance the worth of humans, not to replace humans. And because no matter what happens, we are going to still be here, and we need to value humans first, and then replace the value of humans with AI. And so, how can we look at technology as a whole, AI or whatever, and how can we look at that to enhance what we're doing? so that we can get the value of both. It's similar to the value of connection capital. I look at it in a similar way. We've got this amazing technology out here, and we've got amazing humans. And so how do we blend the two to make a greater, for the greater good, right? So instead of crafting these conversations with, I want to replace people with this great technology, how about enhancing people with this great technology? So
Thank you. I think that's wonderful. Making sense what you're speaking to me, that how you can really come together and complement now these two different um,
great things.
things,
Yes.
apparently is a things, because human being has been still intriguing to understand the psychology aspect of one human to another human, while we have this artificial uh, knowledge coming out together and
Yes.
then pushing the boundaries. Of course, there is a pros and cons to everything, but how to really
Yes.
complement now, right? How to really
Yes.
complement and try to secure our boundaries for the good of the things. I think that's really
Yes.
make the sense for great, wonderful. I think Karen, I think was a really wonderful speaking to you. We touched got a couple of dimensions about connection and connecting people around and capital part of it. Wonderful, great session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And great audience. I think the kind of questions we have been discussing has been phenomenal. We tried to really scratch the surface. A lot of things are involved, and of course, you can connect with the speaker on the LinkedIn, and the connection coordinates are available. And this webinar will be available to you again in the YouTube of the chapter, so that YouTube channel is always with there to revisit this particular conversation with us. So I think that's we are going to closing the webinar tonight. I would like to thank to all the audience for the participation, and from the rest of the PMIUA chapter, from the perspective of volunteers who have been there working with us behind the scene has been there, from the colleagues from membership, outreach team, volunteering, and finance and governance. A good shout out to the friends in the marketing who have been doing the great job to really post all this relevant information on the social media and the events page in the PMIUA website. So I will take a leave from here until our next webinar together. My colleagues behind the camera, Amir and Joyce, are there. A good night, very good evening, and wherever the time zone allows to you, good afternoon, and have a pleasant time ahead. Thank you so much, Karen, and the
Thank
audience.
you.
Take care of yourself. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.